If you're a West Michigan home buyer sitting on the sidelines because 6% interest rates feel insane, the evening news is leaving out the part that's actually costing you the real money. Prices don't have to crash for waiting to wreck your affordability. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the local price trend, the payment math, and the expectation reset that most buyers need right now. I keep hearing smart buyers say the same thing. We'll jump in when rates get better, but that sentence is built on the wrong comparison. You're comparing today's market to a once-in-a-generation rate anomaly, and that's bad comparison, and it'll freeze you in place. Here's the punch in the face. 3% was real, but so is the insanity that came with it. Buyers are paying over asking, waiving protection and inspections, and treating every decent listing like a Black Friday doorbuster. 3% was an anomaly, not a plan. If you live in West Michigan, the story isn't that homes got cheap again after the frenzy. They didn't. The frenzy cooled, the market normalized, but prices kept moving. In fact, the greater Grand Rapids market averaged about a $302,000 sales price in 2021, and it jumped to about $339,000 in 2022. Then kept climbing to about $358,000 in 2023, about $381,000 in 2024, and $387,000 by 2025. By March 2026, the average closed price for the month was already just over $402,000, and the inventory is still only about 1 month. That's not a crash story. That's a tight market with slower, steadier appreciation. Yes, rates are higher. Late 2021 lived around 3%. Today we're in the mid sixes, but West Michigan buyers keep acting like if the rate is higher, the house must somehow be cheaper. It's usually not. That's the lie. So when somebody says, I just can't afford it now, I'll wait, my first question is simply, what exactly do you think is going to make it easier next year? Because if rates stay similar and prices keep climbing at a normal pace, which they will, waiting doesn't rescue affordability. It actually damages it. Let's use a simple example. Say the home that you want is $350,000 in 2026. At a 10% down and 6% principal and interest, it's about $1,889 a month. Once you add taxes, insurance, possibly PMI, you're roughly in the mid-2000s. That feels heavy, I get it, but if that same home grows 5% a year, it becomes about $367,000 in 2027, about $385,000 in 2028, and about $425,000 by 2030. Now your principal and interest is not $1,889, it's closer to $1,983 next year and around $2,082 the next year after that, and roughly $2,300 by 2030. So waiting raises the payment, and waiting raises the down payment too. This is where buyers need 3 mechanisms. First, the comparison reset. Stop comparing today to 3%. Compare today to what buying later probably looks like. That is the right fight. 6% only feels outrageous when you stare backwards and you look in the rearview mirror. When you look forward, the real question becomes whether the house and the payment still work before the next round of appreciation shows up, and it will. Second is the time cost calculator. We use this all the time. If you buy that $350,000 home now and the market just does a normal 5% annual climb by 2030, you've captured roughly $75,000 in appreciation. On top of that, you've paid down about $17,000 in principal in the first 4 years. That is more than $90,000 of movement working in your favor before we even talk about the possible tax benefits, which depend on your situation. And if you want the hit you in the face version, here it is. By 2030, waiting for that same house means a bigger purchase price, a bigger 10% down payment, and roughly $400 more a month in principal and interest alone. Stretch that payment difference across 10 years, and the extra cost is nearly $49,000. Stacked it on top of the missed appreciation and the missed principal pay down, and you're really looking at an opportunity cost north of $140,000. That is what waiting for better affordability can look like. Third is a starter home strategy. This is where a lot of buyers really sabotage themselves. I mean, they shop like their first house needs to look like their forever home. They need a big yard, big square footage, best street, best all 3 levels. That mindset is killing deals before the math has a chance. The market's already telling you what realistic looks like. In March, the biggest chunk of local single-family closings sat in the $300,000 to $399,000 range, and fewer than 35% were below $300,000. Starter homes build options, not ego. And here's the part that people forget. Smaller homes are usually easier to afford, cheaper to maintain, and better at getting you in the game without crushing your life. You're not marrying the first house. You're using it to create leverage. So no, I'm not telling you to be house poor. That's just stupid. If the payment crushes your life, don't do it. But if you can actually afford the payment, and the only thing that's holding you back is bad information or nostalgia for 2021, that's an expensive hesitation. Waiting is a strategy. It's usually just an expensive one. Picture two buyers. The first buyer keeps waiting for the magic headline, rates back at 3%, prices lower, more inventory, easier competition, cleaner deals, so they rent. They doom scroll and they keep calling it discipline. 4 years later, the home that they wanted is around $75,000 more, the 10% down payment is more than $7,500 more, and then the monthly principal and interest is roughly $400 more. They didn't protect affordability. They delayed it right out of reach. Now the second buyer resets expectations. They stop shopping for the fantasy house and they start shopping for the smart first house. Maybe it's smaller, maybe the yard is tighter, so what? Maybe the kitchen is not their dream kitchen yet. You should have seen mine. But they buy something that they can live with, they keep their inspection, they build equity, they pay down the principal, and they give themselves options, a lot of options. By the time they want a bigger house, they're not starting from zero. They're moving with leverage. That's what homeownership does when you use it correctly. It doesn't just give you shelter, a roof over your head, it gives you forced savings, future flexibility, and a shot at wealth building that renting just cannot replicate, regardless of who you're talking to, not in the same way. There's a reason that matters. NAR's 2025 estimate put homeowner median net worth around $430,000 versus about $10,000 for renters. That does not mean that every homeowner is rich. It means the long game still matters. So here's my challenge to you. Stop saying, I'll wait until it makes sense, and let you actually run the numbers on what waiting actually costs you. Sit down with a good local lender and run 3 scenarios this week. The payment on the home that you could buy now, the payment on that same home 1 year later if prices rise by about 5%, and then the payment on that smaller starter home that gets you in the game without stretching your life super thin. Then ask one honest question. Am I truly priced out, or am I still comparing everything to an abnormal market that's not coming back? If you want help with that, book a buyer's strategy call at soldbyyoder.com. I'll help you look at the West Michigan numbers, really sit down and look at them, your real payment range, and the kind of starter home move that can put you in a stronger position a few years from now. Because the goal isn't to chase a mythical perfect moment. It doesn't exist. The goal is to make a smart move before time makes the decision for you. Comment numbers below and then run one real payment scenario with a local lender this week. If you don't have one, I'll refer you to one.